Hi, this is Alimayo Arango of littleguy.cgi.com, and today I want to show you how to do a quick motion design intro in Blender 2.74. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe or other 3D programs. Also, while you're in here, if you go to Add-ons and you scroll down, you want to put a check mark here so that you can import images as planes, and this will just help you be able to follow right along as you go through this tutorial. Okay, a lot of the main things that I learned and what I'm going to show you here, I actually learned from a YouTube channel from Mark Labar. So if you want to look further into doing motion design, I definitely recommend you check out his Blender Explainer video series. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here is you're going to select the light. You're going to press X to bring up your delete menu. Then you're going to choose delete. You're going to select your cube. And you're going to press X to bring up your delete menu again and press delete. You're then going to select your camera. You're going to press Alt R, Alt G. And then you're going to press R to rotate on the X axis 90. Left click to lock in. See this red line right here? You're just going to pull your camera back a little bit distance from there. Okay, what we're going to do now is you're going to go to where you see Blender Render. You're going to click here and you're going to go to Cycles Render. If you have a NVIDIA 630 card or above, you can change your CPU to GPU. Then going to pull this out a little bit. You're going to go right here to your world settings. See this color right here? You're going to click here. You're going to take this almost to the top. You're also going to click Use Nodes. You're then going to, with your camera selected, you're going to select your camera settings and you're going to click where it says composition here. You're going to change this to thirds. Okay, now what you want to do is bring an image in, preferably an image that is on a transparent background like a PNG. To do that, I'm going to go to File, Import, and I'm going to go down to Images as Planes. Now, to see this Images of Planes, you will have to have did what I showed you in the beginning of this tutorial, where in the add-ons you put a check mark next to Import Images as Planes. If you didn't do that, you can do it now. But if you didn't do it, that's probably why you don't see Images as Planes if you don't see it. So anyway, you're going to select Images as Planes. You're going to navigate to your wherever your image is at. And basically what you see here is a logo I made up for another YouTube channel that I have. And it's just this image on a transparent background. So I'm going to select this. But before going here to import images as planes, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to make sure I have a check mark next to this. Use alpha. I'm going to scroll down even more, and I'm going to make sure that I change this setting from diffuse to emission and transparent. And then now I'm going to select import images as planes. Okay, when your image first comes in, it'll just look gray. That's fine for now. What you're going to do is with your image selected, you're going to press R to rotate on the X axis 90. Left click to lock in. And I think it's easier to work with a split screen view while setting this up. So you're going to hover your mouse wheel here, left click and pull, and this gives you a another window to use as we work. Okay, now that we have our split view set up, you can either press 0 on your number keypad, or if you're on a laptop or on a regular desktop, you can also click right here where it says View Camera, and then we're going to press T to take away this menu right here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we can click here and we can go to Texture and we can see our image there. To make sure that our background is actually transparent, we're going to press Shift Z, and we can see the background is transparent for our image, and it's showing, the white background behind it. That's what we want. So I'm going to press Shift Z again just to go back out of rendered view. You can also get into rendered view by selecting here, just so you know about that. Okay, as we go through this animation, I'm going to click here so you can see what our frames per second are going to be, which is 20. We're going to use 24 frames a second. I'm going to click here and turn this to HD TV 720p, which is what I normally use. With this at 24 frames per second, what we're going to do is we're going to move to frame 50. We're then going to press I to bring up our insert keyframe menu. We're going to choose a location to put a keyframe in for the location on frame 50. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hover our mouse wheel over here, and we're going to press Shift and then down on your keyboard. Now, all that Shift down did was it just automatically took us back 10 frames. You can also manually right click and hold and drag back to frame 40, which is 10 frames. Okay, so we put this keyframe on frame 50. Now we're on our timeline on frame 40. So I'm going to roll my mouse wheel here. I'm going to take the manipulator and push this image past the camera like that. I'm now going to press I to bring up our insert keyframe menu again. I'm going to choose location yet again. Okay, and with that done, I'm going to right click right here for now, and I'm just going to press E. Now I pressed E with my mouse hovering over the timeline. Blender's shortcut keys change depending on where your mouse is over. So my mouse is over here, it's over here, the 3D viewport and this 3D viewport are considered the same. But if it's over here or over here, your shortcut keys change. So anyway, to have your what Blender will render out end where your timeline indicator is at, you would press the E, but you have to make sure that your mouse is hovering over this timeline here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here and go to texture. Then I'm going to press play just so you can see what's going on. And you can see, there's our motion coming in. And, it's pretty plain, pretty basic. And one of the very cool things that we can use in Blender is a way to give this a bounce that definitely adds a lot to this motion. And what we're going to do now is, okay, we just have our two keyframes. We have one at 40, one at 50. We started off at, 50, keyframe 50, and then we, put it where we put a keyframe where we wanted this to end up for the first movement in the animation that we're making. And then secondly, we move this forward out of the view of the camera to frame 40. So again, there's just two keyframes right now. What we're going to do now is you're going to click here, and you are going to go to the graph editor. I'm going to roll this back some. Now, I had mentioned earlier that I had learned basically how to do this from Mark Labar, and one of the ways that this differentiates from what he shows is he does a manual bounce. One of the very cool things in Blender, though, is it's very easy to do a, I guess you could call it an automatic bounce. And the way we do that is just make sure you have your image selected. Then you're going to select right here your first keyframe. If you're not sure, you can just right click here and drag and make sure that your timeline indicator is right there. So there's our first keyframe there. You're going to press N to bring up your properties menu. See right here where it says interpolation, Bezier. This is the default interpolation in Blender. What we can do is click this, and now we have all these other options available to us. And these options right here are just spectacular. my favorite, which is bounce. So you're just going to click bounce, and I'm going to press in to move this out of the way. And if you look, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Our graph editor changed, so now there's a bounce going on. Okay, so that you can see what this bounce actually does, I'm going to go to the navigation tab. I'm going to select view camera. I'm going to just roll in a little bit. I'm going to hover my mouse here and just drag this to the side slightly. I'm then going to select play. And I'm also going to click here and change this to textured. And you can see there's our bounce right there. Very cool, very easy to do. However, it is a little bit fast. It's definitely faster than I want it to be. So what I'm going to do is select pause. Now, as easy as that bounce was to put in, it's also very nice that it's very easy to adjust the timing of the bounce. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically, as I pull the timeline, you can see, okay, you know, it finishes its bounce here. I'm going to take this to frame 65. You can see the frame 65 here. And I'm going to use this timeline on frame 65 to drag the bounce to where I want it to go to. Okay, to adjust this bounce, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select here. Now see how when I selected here, this green that represents the bounce isn't glowing? It's because it looks like I selected the end of it, but I didn't. So I'm just going to click again. And now you can see when I clicked again, now I actually have it. So now I'm going to press G to grab on the x-axis, and I'm going to pull this out right to here. Left click to lock in. Okay, now we'll just select play again. Okay. And you can see right here that now, because I pulled that bounce out, now it's actually past the end of our play area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click at 80 here, and then I'm going to press E with my mouse hovering over the timeline here to make the timeline longer. Now I press play again. There you go. I like that bounce there. Okay, so I'm going to pause this. I actually want this to be smaller. So since we put a location keyframe, but we didn't put a keyframe for scale, I should be able to scale this down. So I'm going to actually, let me go back to navigation, back to view camera. And I want this the size of this logo to be more about the size of right in the center there. So I'm going to press S to scale it down. There we go. And now I'm going to play it just to make sure everything's good. Yeah, and everything still looks good. Okay, I'm going to pause this again. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select here. I'm going to change this back from the graph editor, which is what we're in, to the 3D view by selecting here. And then I'm just going to hold my middle mouse button here and turn to the side, and that takes us out of camera view. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this timeline indicator to where everything stops, which is right there at frame 65. And what I want is, I am making an introduction. Actually, I already made it up. It's a funny thing. One of the funniest things I've learned from doing tutorials is, if you really want to get good at something, I mean, there's multiple ways to get good at something, but one of the best ways to get good at something is making tutorials. So I do so much 3D now that I don't draw too much anymore, or I should say I don't draw enough. And that's actually how I got into 3D, was from drawing. So long story short, I plan to do some drawing tutorials on my other YouTube channel. hopefully it'll help people out, but at the same time it'll cause me to draw more. Anyway, the whole reason why I even told you that is because what we're going to do now is we're going to press Shift A, and then we're going to go to text. So we just brought this text in right here. I'm now going to press R to rotate on the X-axis, 90, left click to lock in. Okay, and for this text, I want it to be about the same size as the Arango Tango logo there. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Z-axis, shrink it down some. I'll move it down some like this. I'm also going to press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to change this text to drawing instructions. I'm going to press Tab to come back into object mode. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to get out. I'm going to hold Shift and the mouse button to pan. Make sure I spelled it correctly. Yeah, my plan with the drawing tutorials is as I come up with ideas through drawing, that maybe some of those ideas will then turn into further 3D tutorials on this YouTube channel. Anyway, with that in there, I'm going to, with the drawing instructions text there, I'm going to push to the side, and we can see that this is too big to even fit on the screen, which we can see this right here is our screen. So I'm going to hover my mouse wheel here and press S to scale. Scale this down. Left click to lock in. Move this over some. And I learned this font from the Blender Guru years ago. I've always liked it. The BBAS font. So with this selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F. I'm going to look down to where you see font. I'm going to select here. I'm then going to select my C drive. I'll go to Windows. Then I'll go to fonts. And then here is a BBAS right here. So I'll just double click it. So that changes this font to the BBAS. So I'm going to scroll up. Or not scroll up. I'm going to pull up with the manipulator. I'm going to press S to scale. Pull this. I'll press S to scale, make it even smaller. Okay. Okay, what we need to do now is bring in a plane so that we can mask out this text. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift A. This brings up our add menu. Then we're going to go to mesh, and we're just going to go to plane to bring a plane in. Let me zoom in so you can see this better. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Then I'm going to press R to rotate on the X-axis, 90, and then left click to lock in. Okay, now that we have this plane in here, what we're going to do is press S to scale on the Z-axis. We're just scaling it down to get it around the size of. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. I'll hover my mouse wheel here to pull that over to the side. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this text. I'm going to pull this back some because we don't want the text, the plane, and the logo overlapping each other. So I'm going to grab this plane that we just made and pull this back some. And I'm going to hover the middle mouse button. Let's get a better view. I'm going to zoom in so you guys. This isn't too small. I'm just going to see if this covers, and it does. So it's covering our text. So what we're going to do is press Shift Z to take a look, and we can see our plane there. Now we've got to set this plane up to act as a mask. So we're going to press Shift Z to go back to our regular our camera view. Okay, what we're going to do now with this plane selected is we're going to click here, and we're going to change this to the node editor. Pull this over. Okay, one of the things we need to do with this plane select, I'm going to drag this out a little. So we have to, you want to put your mouse here, you're going to roll your mouse wheel, you're going to go to your materials tab, you're going to select new. So then we're just going to roll in. So when I selected the new on the material was put in, and then you saw that reflected over here. Okay, and what we have to do here is, well, we see the diffuse BSDF and material output. I'm just going to grab this and pull this over a little bit. Now what we need to do is go to add input and select light path, and we're just going to put this right here. Then all we're going to do is, I'll try to zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. Light path, in a light path node, we just have to pull from the camera ray and connect that to color. Okay, and that should take care of making this a good mask material. Now what we need to do with this still selected is go to our active data button. I'm going to scroll down here. We're going to look to ray visibility. This is yet another nice thing I learned from Mark. We're going to left click and hold and just drag. And we're going to get rid of everything as far as ray visibility, as far as other than camera, so we can see our object. We're going to select here, do the same thing. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just so we can see the text. I'm going to select here. I'm going to left click and hold and do the same thing yet again. And while we have this text selected, I'm going to go to the material settings. I'm going to select new, and then we're just going to change this to almost black. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're just going to click here and turn this back to the 3D view. And what we're going to do is press Shift Z to see the render, and now we can see the mask is working like it's supposed to, which is excellent. So I'm going to press Shift Z to go back to our regular solid 3D view. Okay, now with those other settings set up, I'm going to select the logo, and we're on, our timeline indicator is currently on 65. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift and then press up once, which takes us 10 frames forward, which is 75. I'm going to press Shift up one more time, which takes us up to 85. And this Shift up is just a keyboard shortcut. You can also right click here and just drag to 85. But with that setting, the timeline indicator being on 85, I'm going to press I to put a location keyframe in. Okay, and with that location keyframe put in at 85, I'm going to right click here to frame 120. I'm going to press E just to make sure that our whole play area goes up to 120. I'm going to select play just to take a quick look. I'm going to select texture here so we can see what's going on. Good. Okay, and the reason why between here and here we want this to be immobile. Since it's a logo, we want people looking at the logo, so we just give it this little bit of time just to sit there. If we had put a move keyframe right here, then it would have just, you know, come to a stop briefly, extremely briefly, and then just moved. But because we put a keyframe here of it being in the same position, it being the logo, and then here another keyframe, we have this space where it's just sitting there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press and hold Shift, and we're going to press our up arrow key. And again, it's a shortcut. You can right click and, you know, drag also to get your timeline indicator to where you want it to go. And then with the logo selected, we're going to take the manipulator and just push this over to the side like this. And then now with this our timeline being on frame 95 and with our logo selected, we're going to press I, and then we're going to choose from our insert keyframe menu that popped up when we press I, we're going to choose location. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to select our mask plane, and temporarily we're going to hide this by pressing H. And what we're going to do is go to our timeline indicator, and we're going to see when this starts to move. So it's 85 where it starts to move, like we set it to move. It comes to a full stop at 95. So what we're going to do is, typically when you're doing animations, a lot of times it is very useful to do things in reverse order. So we want this to be set here at 95, to be where it's at 95. So what we're going to do, being on frame 95, is we're going to select it. We're going to press I to bring up our insert keyframe menu. We're going to choose location. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to frame 85. With our text selected, we're going to push our text so it is in line. The front of it is not in line. The front of it is behind our logo. Okay, and with the text still selected, we want to press I to bring up our insert keyframe menu, and then put a keyframe in for location for the text. So now what should happen is there we go. That's what we want. See how once the logo starts to move, the text also starts to move, and that's what we want. Okay, so now that we have the animation set up, we'll press Shift Z, and we'll scroll backwards, and you can see our animation is working, but we still need to have this drawing instruction text masked out. So what we'll do is we'll press Shift Z, and we'll click here and go back to texture for the viewport shading. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press Alt H, and remember your where your mouse is at, it determines on what shortcut keys will work. So you want to press Alt H while your mouse is over the 3D viewport. We're going to go back to frame 85, and what we're going to do is select this plane that we're going to use for masking. We'll take it about like that, so it's just a little bit of coverage there, but it looks like it's fully covering the drawing instructions text. Okay, and with the I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. With this plane that we're using for a mask still selected, you're going to hold Shift, and then you're going to select your logo, and then you're going to press Control P. This brings up our Set Parent To menu, and then you're going to choose Object Keep Transform. Okay, so now we'll just scrub our timeline and make sure everything is moving like it should. We're close on that drawing, but it looks like we have enough space to still see the D clearly. We actually can select this plane even though it's parented and just push it in a little bit more, and it should still, yep. Now we know that the plane is the D is clearly seen, and yeah, by adjusting this doesn't affect the animation because it's just parented to this. So okay, so now with that done, we'll press Shift Z. Just make sure that when we go back here, see that? Okay, so it's parented to the drawing instruction. So at first we don't see, we can see our drawing instructions. So let's see, what we'll do is we'll go here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. With the plane selected, I'm gonna press I to bring up the insert keyframe menu. I'm going to choose location. Then I'm going to take my arrow key and move back one frame. I'm going to move this up, the plane up, so now the plane is covering up the drawing instruction text. I'm going to press I to insert, bring up our insert keyframe menu. I'm going to choose location. Let's see if this works. So now it should, yep, there it goes. Okay, so now we go all the way back to beginning. And it's working fine. Almost done, guys. So we're going to press Shift Z. Okay, the last thing is we're going to look where we come to a stop at. So we're here, frame 95. Our stop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to press, we're going to zoom in our text here. And we are going to select our drawing instructions and select our logo by holding Shift. We're going to press I to put a location keyframe in. And then we're going to press Shift and up to move forward 10 frames. And we're going to press I to put another location keyframe in from our insert keyframe menu. And then we're going to press Shift and up one more time. And we're just going to look here, but use our manipulator here and push straight down. And then we're going to press I to bring up our insert keyframe menu and then choose location. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go to texture, the texture mode for the viewport shading. And we're going to press play to take a look. Okay, looks good. Okay, so what we're going to do is just come here and pause this. I'm then going to hover my mouse over this triangular looking shape right here, left click and pull to the right, which just makes this be the only screen again. Okay, to render this out, you're just going to click on your render button. We're going to go to where it says display. We're going to change this to new window, just what I prefer. That's not absolutely necessary. I have it set for 1280 by 720 resolution. I have the frame rate set for 24 frames per second. Scroll down more. Typically when you're rendering out something that is very high poly, it takes a very long time to render. I would recommend that you render it out in PNGs, just so that if Blender has some kind of issue while it's rendering, you don't lose all of your work. But since this is a fairly short video, I'm just going to click here. I'm going to choose H.264. I'm going to go to encoding. I'm going to change the format from AVI to MPEG-4. Okay, and as far as having your video be very clear, where it says bit rate right here, I recommend you click here and change this to 24,300. And where it says minimum here, that's fine. Where it says maximum, I recommend you change from 9,000 to 30,000. Okay, and if you had sound, which we don't have sound with this, you would click here and you could pick one of these audio codecs. Typically I choose MP3, but since there's no audio, we'll just leave it at none. And you want to make sure that you have a check mark right here for your motion blur to be turned on. Okay, when you have all that done, typically I'll just make sure that I have my H.264 setting here, then my format is set for MPEG-4. and that I have my correct resolution and have that resolution set for 100%. Okay, and now with those settings set up, typically I just double check, make sure I have H.264, MPEG 4, the format selected. I make sure that I have the resolution that I want, as well as the resolution being up to 100%. And you want to click here, make sure that you know where your movie is going to. I'll just click here. I'll put a name for the video here. And once you have that done, you'll just click accept. And then you'll go to animation and just click animation. Okay, one other thing that I wanted to mention that's very important is before you click the animation button, you want to make sure that right here where it says end 120, you want to make sure that your actual video that you made, the ending frame for this, which is 120, matches up here. Very important. Okay, and here is our rendered out video here. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And to those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.